Hello, my zombie apocalypse survivors. This is Jay Bull. I am the author of the podcast, and I wanted to let you know that in January of 2026, our podcast will be moving to Substack. It will continue to be free. I will make sure that this is a Substack you don't have to pay for. I always want this to be a free podcast for people to listen to without it costing you anything. But the move will happen in January, so I wanted to give everybody a heads up that in January we'll be moving to Substack, and I will make sure to give you links to that at the time. I hope you're enjoying Season 3. Welcome to the end of the world, survivors. You're tuned in to the station, one of the last voices on the airwaves. I'm Harper, or as I've come to call myself, DJ Clueless, broadcasting from a radio station that somehow still hums with life. I'm no longer alone, but the work of growing food and establishing contact with others is endless. This is where we fight back, where we build back up again. I'll be your guide through the madness, sharing the locations of safe havens, theories and information about our new world, and the occasional existential crisis that comes with a zompocalypse. The world's gone dark, the dead outnumber the living, but many have started to rebuild some of what we've lost. The only real question is, what's next? Stick around if you're still alive. Sorry, there's no song today, guys. This is Harper, DJ Clueless, coming at you from the station, and we are in week 2 of the zombie horde moving through. And things are getting bad. See, we're inside concrete structures that then are insulated and have, either paneling or drywall up. We should be able to talk inside without the outside horde noticing. And guys, somehow they can hear us. They can hear us. I have no idea how. And having to be ridiculously quiet in order for them to move on. And that, they're not, it's not like in the movies where they're outside clawing to get in. They've just stopped moving and they stare at the building. We think they would have gone by now if we had known this in advance. But, this has been happening the past 2 or 3 days. And at first we thought maybe they were resting. I know, that's crazy. We couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. But we thought maybe the zombies were taking a break, and that would be weird. And that would show some kind of sentience, But, no, we checked cameras at night when everyone's sleeping, except for 1 or 2 people. We always have somebody to raise the alarm. Yeah, they move just fine at night. They only stop during the day, and it takes them an hour or 2 of us not talking before they move again. And so we are basically being silenced inside our safe haven, and that's why I'm talking so softly. The sound booth is even more insulated than every place else. But normally we broadcast this, in various places throughout the station, but we aren't broadcasting this except on the airwaves. Ohio and Indiana friends are still dark. We haven't heard from anybody north of us pretty much at all. However, we did find, oh my gosh, we had a gentleman manning the communications cabin in July, and he wrote down a bunch of messages. Then he grabbed a couple bags of food and he took off. And the thing is, we didn't find this message until yesterday, and that was because we were cleaning up the room and there was a piece of paper on the floor. And there's a woman named Chrissy. I'm sorry, that's an assumption. I assumed off the name, my bad, apologies. There's a person named Chrissy who is holed up in a library, and she reached out to, I did it again. They reached out to us in July. And in July, we were so busy harvesting and bringing stuff in and building stuff like, oh my God, we were busy, busy bees. And so when he took off, we thought that he had written down all of the messages in the message notebook where the messages go. But apparently that was too difficult for him to do. So, Chrissy, we are so sorry that we're just now getting this. As it's September, we are hoping that you are still safe. Whether it's in the library or whether you made it to your father's house. Chrissy, we hope that you are doing well. If you have a chance to reach out and drop us a line, let us know. You know, this horde is going to clear up. This horde is not going to stay on top of us forever. We will be able to get free. We will be able to move again. And when that time comes, we can come get you. Just let us know where you are. Let us know what your needs are. Like, do you need food? Do you need, other supplies, defensive supplies, that kind of thing? Let us know. And I am so sorry that we didn't get that message. It just fell through the cracks. And I hate to put the blame on somebody else, but this guy stole food and couldn't even write a message down right. We have started, when people come in, one of the women that came in with the last flood of people, she reads auras and intentions. And so we have made her our official greeter, and she shakes the hands of everybody that comes in. And I am telling you all that for a very specific reason. I want survivors to come to the station, or to go to the plant, or to go to any of the other places that, we have kind of a connection with. The high ropes people, the ones that have in Goreville, who have the land above ground, basically, they are not always taking people, but they have said if there are some people who don't have a fear of heights, they would love to sit down and talk with them about maybe entry. So you don't have to be alone. There are groups everywhere that have gathered together to help support each other in the fight against the zombies. Because, with a horde like this, hunkering down by yourself is terrifying. What if you give in to Z-terror? You need one or two more people just to help you from greeting the zombies with open arms when they come in sizes this big. We now have about 15 people. It sometimes is 20. It's weird. There are 2 or 3 that every other day they kind of want to open doors. And anyway, it's getting difficult to manage. So we have them confined to a room, and they are not let out. As long as they're confined in the room, they aren't crazed and trying to get out and trying to let the zombies in. So for now, that's working, but having to be silent during the day is making people lose their crap. And granted, we could be noisy during the day, but we want the horde to go away as quickly as possible, because at this point, cabin fever has set in. People are getting super bored. There's just a whole bunch of different things. And, we have people out taking care of the horses, but we lost communications with them. We have some cameras up thanks to our tech guy, and we're able to see so far everything looks fine. I don't know if the horses are providing some insulation from the Z-terror, or if we just have some exceptional people taking care of the horses, because there are quite a few people who don't have Z-terror. I mean, they're the minority, think like 1 in 10, but that 1 in 10 has been saving our butt kind of all week. So anyway, my whole point is, if you are hunkered down and you think that you're inside, and because you're inside, it's safe to talk, It's probably not. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't know if when zombies are collected together, they just have like super hearing or something. But since we have enacted quiet policy, they very much have been shuffling by. And it's crazy, guys. There are so many conversations that are in closets where we are whispering to each other. And it would be funny if it weren't so frustrating and so debilitating. And at this point, I am going to try and find a library that has a book on ASL so we can have some rudimentary, just learn the alphabet, guys, and it'll take a while, but we can communicate that way if you don't want to learn more, because we're going to have to assume that the zombie horde is something that will occur to us more than once going forward. Yes, we're hunkered down. We're letting this group pass by us. But it's not like that's going to be the only time this happens. The majority of the USA has become zombies. I mean, I'm assuming probably the same is true in Canada, Mexico, and the rest of the continents. But I could only speak to here. And, 330 million Americans, and that's a lot of zombies, guys. It's a lot of zombies. 1 million zombies is a lot. Hundreds of millions is more than the brain can really understand, or at least more than my brain can. So anyway, we need to come up with solutions as we're going through this for the next time this happens. Because I was saying this a few sessions back, we got to look at it like, we looked at tornadoes, like we looked at thunderstorms, like we dealt with hurricanes on the coasts. Zombies are just another factor that we have to monitor and deal with and prep for. If we can do hurricane prepping, we can absolutely do zombie prepping. More than that, we kind of need to. At this point, they're ubiquitous, so... But anyway, my point is having to be quiet does suck. But we're finding solutions around that, and we have found a couple dry erase boards that have definitely helped aid in communication, and, there are a few people who are just carrying around notebooks. I think Queenie and Priya have both gone through at least 2, just trying to get things organized and talk to people, so it's been interesting. But due to that, having to be quiet, this might be a shorter broadcast than normal. I don't want to put everybody else in danger by talking for too long. But I definitely wanted to give that shout out to Chrissy. And Chrissy, if I misgendered you, I'm so sorry. I made assumptions based on your names, so apologies. But I gotta say, the people here have been handling it really, really well. Everybody's under stress. We have occasionally somebody burst into tears because of it. And, when that happens, 2 or 3 people just kind of surround them and hug them and let them cry it out, because we need an outlet for the stress, and as they said in Free to Be, You and Me, crying gets the sad out of you. So I'm really, really proud of everybody here and how they have been supporting each other and how they've been showing up for each other, because it doesn't take a lot, You don't have to bring a bag of food or ammo to somebody. All you need to do is hug them and be like, yeah, I know, man, this sucks. This sucks so hard. And somehow that makes us feel hope again. That makes us feel like we can move forward again. So everybody here has been holding up really, really well. And, the Z terror, that's not people's fault. That is some kind of weird-ass effect from the zombies. It really, really is. And so even the people who we have kind of cloistered, they're really supportive of each other, and we're supportive of them. We're just not letting them out, because when we do, they go crazy. And again, I don't think that's on them. I think that is just part of what we're dealing with in this world. But, even I have dreams when I go to sleep of the zombies singing to me to open the doors, singing to me to be one of them. And in the dream, it's not scary, it's comforting. It's like, oh, yes, if I join them, I will be just like them and I won't have to worry anymore. And yeah, those things are true, but you'll also be dead. So, maybe think about that more than the advantages. But, dream time, I can't really rationalize with myself. I can just wake up and go, oh my God, that's messed up. And from what I've talked to other people, especially after the attack at the plant last year, most of the people who tried to open doors and let the zombies in were having those feelings while awake. And, at least Dreamtime me, there was no way to logic around those. There was no escape from them. It was just what was. You know what I'm saying? It was just, this is the best solution ever. There was no other option in my head. And so I don't really blame the people who are succumbing to the Z-terror. I feel bad for them. And, every person at the station is beloved. And we don't want anything to happen to anybody. And we already lost some people just from the initial attack. And most of us aren't over that yet. Thank God we had some rooftop snipers to make sure that they are resting in peace and not rising. But, that took a little while after the fact to happen. And anyway, we eventually had the snipers come back inside, but we don't want any of our people to join the hordes. And most of the people here, actually all of the people here, have pretty much agreed to that. If at all possible, if someone's bitten or turned, you rip them. So anyway, we did get to rip ours, but that takes its own cost on people. That it hurts to say goodbye in that manner. Even though you're doing it for the good of them, and that's what they would want in the situation itself sucks so bad that it's a little hard to work your mind around that fact. So yeah. Anyway, I am sorry I'm a little depressing today, guys. It's just the zombies are super oppressive right now. And before we realized that they were stopping because of our voices, we were actually having a great time, We were telling stories, we were, sharing all kinds of adventures that we had, and, we were bonding. And, we're still bonding. It's just without a lot of communication. And getting to know people's history and what makes them tick is one of the joys of meeting new people. And so at this point, unless we want people to write out an autobiography, we kind of have to wait until the zombies pass. Now, what we have estimated is the zombies, especially since the Horde split. And guys, the Horde split in apparently 3 different directions, and it's been a week and we aren't done with zombies. I don't even want to know how big that original Horde was. I don't think my brain could handle it. I don't think it could wrap around it at all. So anyway, we are hoping that this is, that maybe if we are quiet for another 2 or 3 days, that the Horde will keep on passing through. It's just, after the walkers, the Horde basically comes in waves. You have the runners, then you have the walkers, then you have shamblers, and then crawlers, and then basically ankle biters, where, basically all they can do is drag themselves on the ground. And the ankle biters, while not the quickest, are often the most dangerous because you don't see them. They tend to hide in tall grass. Or at least they tend to get stuck in high grass. I don't know. But we've lost quite a few people who went to go take a leak in, a field somewhere and came back bitten. Not here at the station, But at the plant, I talked to quite a few people who had that happen. And there were a couple people at the plant who, when they came back in after being gone, failed their bite check. And it was ankle biters. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go out with piking sticks, which are basically the same that you use to pick up trash, just like a stick with the long nail on it. We had somebody who's just making a bunch of those right now, and I appreciate that foresight. Like, no one else thought of it. This gentleman just, we had raided quite a few hardware stores and stuff, and he found the longest nails and some dowel rods and just kind of made them. It was pretty impressive. So anyway, we're going to go out and have a piking party and make sure that we get as many of the ankle biters as we can find so that they don't surprise us. But what we have heard from other people is that process takes kind of weeks because they're just that slow. They're just that slow. Like, they are trying to stay with the horde, but they're too slow to do it. And, my working theory is every zombie is going as quickly as possible to try to kill you. But even with all of whatever keeps them reanimated, they can't keep their ligaments and muscles from reacting to the abuse that they put them under. So, eventually they break down. So that's my working theory. I don't think we have any zombies that dawdle. I think they are all trying to whoosh as fast as they can. So yeah. Anyway. What we're dealing with, we haven't dealt with before because we've never had a horde this big. But what you have to keep in mind is every time a new occurrence happens with them, we learn more. We figure out more. We learn how to counteract them. One of the reasons humans were so dominant on the planet before the rise of the zombies is we are able to adapt. We live in some of the harshest places on this planet, and we adapt to it. We figure out how to live in spite of it. And I think that's how we're going to have to deal with the zombie problem. We're going to have to adapt to it. And a lot of us have already, we're doing that. But the knowledge we are getting from being under siege right now, I think will be very beneficial to others when they're under siege, which is why I'm trying to keep broadcasting. We basically all talked about it. I could have skipped this session, but the hope is with only one voice talking, that the zombies won't care. We are thinking that it was the many voices, because you will have somebody who is bitten, and if they are just with one or two people, they don't activate until they get someplace where there's a crowd. And then when there's a crowd, they go zombie and start biting immediately. But with one person, they don't. And so the hope is, by there being just one voice active inside, that they will not stick around. But even if they do, we are thinking if it's only 20, 25 minutes, then maybe they can keep going. So that is why this is going to be a little bit shorter. But I want you to know that if you're inside and you have a horde this big, it's probably better to be quiet and plan in silence. Try to make sure you have a dry erase board or a notebook or something. And if you can write a library and find a book on American Sign Language, do it, because I think that's something I'm going to suggest to Malcolm as well. If a large number of zombies are going to just hang out, we need to be able to communicate effectively, because there's still a lot of decisions to make and a lot of things to do. The work doesn't stop just because we have to be quiet about it. The work keeps on going. And if you are out there and you are alone in a sea of zombies, a sea of red eyes, just know there are others like you everywhere, and survive, survive, survive. If you're worried about the Z terror, if you could lock the door a million different ways that are complicated to open, anything that can bring you out of the terror long enough to start thinking analytically, that could help. That's what we have come up with, and I think that's part of why everybody who is cloistered is doing so well, is to get out of there, they have to do a lot. I'm not even going to go into everything we've done to lock them in, because it sounds really cruel when you go into it, but like they asked us to lock them in that thoroughly. So anyway, no matter what's going on right now, no matter the horde outside and how oppressive they are, we will overcome the zombies. We have already rebuilt. We have already joined up in groups. We are already right there. It is just a matter of time before we get supply chains going, before we are more connected, and the zombies aren't going to ultimately win. We are. It just doesn't feel like it right now, because anytime you have a horde coming, it is just scary as all get out. Don't give in to despair. Don't give in to hopelessness or helplessness, because that seems to feed the Z-terror. The more hopeless and helpless you feel, the more powerful they become. Don't give them that power. And whatever else happens, survive. There are others like you out there. We will beat the zombies. We will learn how to live in spite of them. So survive, survive, survive. And until next week, this is DJ Harper. And Chrissy, if you're out there, stay alive. We will find you. This is Harper signing off for now. Remember, the world is still turning, even if it feels like we're standing still. Survive, adapt, endure. As the dust settles, we are rising again. We are rebuilding from the ashes. Until then, keep moving, keep fighting, and whatever you do, survive.